India is one of the 12 mega diversity nations of the world. It is divided in 10 biogeographic regions. The rich and diverse physical features and climatic conditions that India has to offer has led to the formation of ecological habitats like forests, grasslands, wetlands, coastal, marine and desert ecosystems, which support an immense variety of biodiversity.
India originated 70 million years ago as part of Gondwana land along with Africa, Australia and Antarctica. Hence, it has some flora and fauna common with these continents. Due to the continental drift, India shifted northwards across the equator and became part of the Eurasian continent, which had plants and animals of Europe and Asia, because at this time the Himalayas had not been formed. Ultimately, African and Ethiopian species migrated and India got separated from other countries due to the formation of the Himalayas as a geographical barrier. Thus, India has species from 3 distinct continents along with its own endemic species. This is the reason why India has such a rich biodiversity. Center of origin. Vavilov, a Russian explorer, has recognized 12 primary centers of origin of cultivated plants, India being one of them. India is homeland to 167 important plants, several species of cereals, millets, fruits, condiments, vegetables, pulses, fiber crops and oil seeds. About 114 breeds of domesticated animals are native to India. Survey reports. Approximately 65% of the total geographical area of India has been surveyed so far. Botanical Survey of India, established in 1890, has described 45,000 species of plants. The Zoological Survey of India, established in 1916, has described 81,000 species of animals. This list is upgraded from time to time, especially in case of lower plants and invertebrate animals. The Forest Survey of India, established in 1981, assesses the forest cover with a view to develop an accurate database for planning and monitoring purposes. Conservation and sustainable use of biological resources based on local knowledge, custom and practices is ingrained in the Indian ethos. India has a number of alternative medical systems like Ayurveda, Unani, Siddha and homeopathy, which are prominently based on ingredients from plants in most of their preparation and formulation. Several plants like soap nut, shikakai, that is Acacia concina, henna or Lawsonia inermis, turmeric are locally used for cosmetic purposes. Conservation of biodiversity.
The governments of different countries have realized the importance of the conservation of biodiversity in view of aesthetic, scientific, recreational and economic values. Biodiversity rich areas have been declared as national parks and wildlife sanctuaries. Both these are natural ecosystems of a particular country. The oldest national park of the world is Yellowstone National Park Wyoming in America. In India, there are 85 national parks and 448 wildlife sanctuaries. The oldest national park of India is Jim Corbett National Park in Nainital, Uttaranchal Pradesh. In MP, there are 9 national parks and 28 sanctuaries. The oldest national park of MP is Kanha National Park in Mandla district. It is meant for the conservation of swamp deer, that means Barasingha, and tigers. Madhav National Park, Shivpuri, is meant for the conservation of nilgai, while Bandhavgarh National Park, Shahdol, is meant for the conservation of tigers. National parks and sanctuaries are the natural areas which not only conserve the biodiversity, but are also the areas of entertainment to present as well as future generations. It is interesting to note that the idea of conservation of biodiversity was initiated not by the biologists, but by the drawing artists of Barbizon School of France. They had conserved Fontainebleau forest in 1853. Conserving biodiversity in its natural habitat is called in situ conservation. It is observed that in national parks and sanctuaries, animals are conserved very well, but plants are not given much importance. Plants should also be given equal importance.
For conservation, biodiversity rich areas are declared as national parks, wildlife sanctuaries, biosphere reserves, and ecologically fragile and sensitive areas. Degraded areas and wastelands are converted into green areas by afforestation. Gene banks are also established for conservation outside original habitat. The Tura range in Garo Hills of Meghalaya is a gene sanctuary for preserving the rich native diversity of wild citrus and banana species.
About 4.2% of the total geographical area of the country has been earmarked for in situ conservation of biodiversity, which means conservation of biodiversity in original habitat. For this purpose, 85 national parks and 448 wildlife sanctuaries have been earmarked, leading to restoration of viable population of mammals like tigers, lions, elephants, rhinoceros, and reptiles like crocodiles. The Indian Council of Forestry Research and Education, that is ICFRE, has also identified 309 areas as reserve forests. Out of these, 187 forests are natural and 122 are in plantation form, which are covering an area of almost 8,500 hectares. Programs have also been started for scientific management of wetlands, mangroves, and coral reef ecosystem. The coral reef ecosystems, involving a wide variety of algae, is one of the most productive of all ecosystems. The mangrove conservation is a thrust area of the Ministry of Environment with a view to provide protection against disasters like tsunami.
6 significant wetlands of India have been declared as Ramsar sites under the Ramsar Convention, and 5 natural sites have been declared as World Heritage Sites. 12 biodiversity rich areas of the country have been designated as Biosphere Reserve as per UNESCO or MAB criteria. The aim of these reserves is to protect biological diversity and genetic integrity of plants, animals and microbes in their totality as part of the natural ecosystems. In this way, natural biodiversity undergoes self-perpetuation and evolution. The Ministry of Environment and Forests framed the National Afforestation and Eco-Development Board (NAEB) in August 1992. NAEB has suggested schemes for biomass production, especially the production of fuel wood and fodder in nude areas. Central government and state governments are managing 33 botanical gardens. Universities have their own botanical gardens. There are 275 zoos, deer parks, safari parks and aquaria where biodiversity of animal is maintained. Botanical gardens and zoos are the proper places for the ex situ conservation of threatened and endangered species in their respective regions. Various acts for the conservation of biodiversity. Articles 48A and 51A(g) of the Indian Constitution are related with the protection of the environment. Major central acts relevant to biodiversity are Forest Act 1927, Wildlife Protection Act 1972, Forest Conservation Act 1980, Environment Protection Act 1986. Various states have their own laws and statutes concerning the forest and natural resources. The policies directly related to biodiversity include National Forest Policy amended in 1988, National Conservation Strategy and Policy for Environment and Sustainable Development, National Agricultural Policy, National Land Use Policy, National Fisheries Policy, National Policy and Action Strategy on Biodiversity, National Wildlife Action Plan, Environmental Action Plan. India is a party to the Convention on Biological Diversity (CBD). The main objectives are conservation of biodiversity, sustainable use of the components of biodiversity, fair and equitable sharing of benefits arising out of the utilization of genetic resources.
To encourage taxonomic or classification work, Janki Ammal National Award for Taxonomy has been instituted for identifying the critically important areas and filling the gaps in taxonomic work. India's richness in biodiversity and related indigenous knowledge is well recognized. Biodiversity legislation in India is aimed at regulating access to biological resources. With thorough awareness molded by legislation, we may be able to maintain the richness of biodiversity in this mega diversity nation.
Details of biodiversity. India has 1,15,000 known species of plants and animals. Paddy, sugarcane, jute, mango, lemon and plantains originated in India and later on migrated to other countries. Some orchids, cucurbits and medicinal plants are also indigenous to India. India is considered as one amongst 12 megadiversity nations of the world. The place occupied by India on the basis of wildlife is as shown. Of the 4,231 mammal species found in the world, India has 372. The percentage of endemic species found in India is 8, and India holds the 8th position. There are 12,450 bird species in the world. India has 1,200 bird species. The percentage of endemic species found in India is 4. India holds the 8th position. Of the 5,300 reptile species found in the world, 435 can be found in India. The percentage of endemic species found in India is 33. India ranks 5th. There are 4,184 amphibian species in the world, and 181 of them can be found in India. The percentage of endemic species found in India is 62, and India ranks 15th. 2,000 of the 2,300 fish species are found in India. 6 lakh of the 8 lakh insect species in the world are found in India. Of the 1 lakh mollusk species found in the world, 5,000 can be found in India. India has 13,000 types of butterflies and moths. There are 45,000 plant species found in India, out of which most are angiosperms. India ranks 15th as far as plant diversity is concerned.
There are 1,022 species of ferns and 1,082 species of orchids. Out of 588 genera of monocots, 22 are endemic to India. However, it is estimated that the number of unknown species could be several times higher. High endemism has also been recorded in various groups of insects, marine worms, mayflies, centipedes, and freshwater sponges. Just like high biodiversity in the Indian plants, there is also great diversity in the cultivated crops and breeds of domestic animals. In rice itself, there may be 30,000 to 50,000 varieties, and a number of varieties in various cereals and vegetables. The highest biodiversity in crop plants is found in Eastern Ghats, Western Ghats, Northern Himalayas, Northeastern Hills, and the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. All these are areas of very high rainfall, and these constitute 2 of the 18 hotspots identified in the world.
Whenever any wild variety is improved, the genes of wild variety become less and less, and gradually they may disappear from the population. Genes of wild variety are important to grow disease resistant varieties in future. Therefore, germplasm of wild varieties is preserved in the form of gene banks. The best way is to preserve the germplasm in the form of seeds. Such seeds form gene banks. Vavilov of Leningrad in Russia started the conservation of germplasm in 1920. At present, it has germplasm of 2 lakh varieties. International Rice Research Institute at Manila in Philippines has collection of 80,000 varieties of rice in its gene bank. National Seed Storage Laboratory America has collection of 83,000 varieties of seeds of crop plants. Honduras in Central America has gene bank for banana. Costa Rica has gene bank for coffee, while Panama has gene bank for palms. In India, NBPGR, National Bureau of Plant Genetic Resources, has been established at New Delhi in 1976, which looks after the gene bank of plants, while National Bureau of Animal Genetic Resources, Karnal, looks after the gene bank of animals, especially fishes. Forest Research Institute, Dehradun, has gene bank for forest trees, while germplasm of medicinal plants in India is maintained by Botanical Survey of India, Kolkata. Under National Bureau of Plant Genetic Resources, there are 4 satellite research stations at Shillong, Jodhpur, Kanyakumari and Amravati, which have gene banks for plants of different climatic regions. Conservation of germplasm in gene banks is called ex situ conservation.
Gene banks in India have collected the samples of 34,000 cereals and 22,000 pulses. India has 27 indigenous breeds of cattle, 40 breeds of sheep, 22 breeds of goats and 8 breeds of buffaloes. Several local breeds have disappeared or are on the verge of disappearing because we have been misguided into adopting foreign breeds. For example, Jersey cows have replaced Indian cattle. Cash crops like cotton, sugarcane, soya bean have replaced food crops. Eucalyptus and wattle or acacia plantations have replaced shola forests. Thus, the Indian landscape is losing its individuality by resembling any other scenery in the world. India has 9,500 species of ethnobotanical importance, out of which 7,500 are ethnomedicinal. 2,000 species have multipurpose uses. They are edible. Wealth of wild plants in India. In India, wild plants have great biodiversity because 75% species come under different genera such as Dendrobium, Bulbophyllum, Paphiopedium, Vitis, Citrus, Musa, Rhododendron, Hedychium, Elaiocarpus or Rudraksha and Elaeagnus. In northeastern cooler parts, there are 30 species of legumes and 45 species of grasses. Legumes show great diversity. Example, astragalus, medicago, melilotus, trifolium, trigonella and vicia. Grasses also show great diversity. Example, bromus, festuca and lolium. The tribals of India use the underground parts of plants as well as the leaves and flowers for edible purposes. They cultivate useful plants and preserve them in situ in natural habitat itself.